Hi, good morning, everyone. I want to give a brief background to the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. A declaration on the rights and welfare of the child, of the African child, was adopted by the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the OAU in July 1979, where they recognized the need to take appropriate measures to promote and protect the rights and welfare of the African child. Thus, this resulted into the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, which was adopted on 11th July 1990 and came into force on 29th November 1999 after it had been ratified by 15 member states. Sorry. We've been talking about the driver of the processes that we are talking about, and Article 1 of the African Charter provides for legislative and administrative measures the state has to undertake to give effect to the provisions of the Charter. So, in essence, we are saying that the state party should be the driver of this process. Then we have the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and it's a treaty body that was established as per Article 32 of the Charter. And it has the mandate to protect and promote children's rights in the continent. So what activities does it carry out? One is state party reporting. I would like to inform you that 47 state parties have ratified the Charter. 7 are yet to ratify. And among the 7 state parties here, 6 have already ratified and reported on the Charter. So we are waiting for South Sudan to do the needful. So the first thing is state party reporting, where states report to the committee on the implementation of the Charter. In principle, after countries ratify the Charter, they are supposed to submit the initial report 3 years after ratification, and 2 years after ratification, and then every 3 years. The committee, after the report has been submitted, issues concluding observations and recommendations, urging governments to take necessary measures for the realization of rights, freedoms, and duties enshrined in the Charter. This is done after the committee engages with the state in constructive dialogue, where it considers the state party report. Many of the times when people submit their reports, they feel like they are being judged. But really what happens is that there is a constructive dialogue. You know, the achievements are highlighted, the challenges, and the way forward. The committee also considers the CSO alternative report to verify facts presented in the state party report. So before the state party comes to defend its report, the CSO bring in their report so that the committee can know, are all the facts correct, whatever the state has presented. Apart from that, we have the communications. The committee also receives communications from individuals, groups, and non-governmental organizations on violation of children's rights. And it renders decision on alleged violations by state parties. It also follows up on the implementation of its decision. The committee is in the process of attaining standing before the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Maybe you can tell us some of the communications that the committee has received. Any idea? Yes? Communications that the committee has received. The committee also conducts advocacy and investigation missions on matters falling within the ambit of the Charter. They investigate the situation of the children on the ground and also discuss with the concerned government authorities, urging them to address the situation that led to the mission. The committee also calls upon CSOs in that particular state to be vigilant about the issue. Like in the beginning of August, we had an investigation mission in South Sudan that our brother was talking about. The committee also formulates rules and principles aimed at protecting the rights and welfare of children in Africa. The committee has endorsed the Declaration on Ending Discrimination and Violence Against Girls in Africa. That was done during the 22nd session of the committee in November 2013. And during the 23rd session in April, there was a declaration, April this year, there was a declaration on ending child marriage in Africa. The committee has also developed a strategy for children with disabilities. There is also the interpretation of the Charter. And interested parties, particularly CSOs, through their partnership with the committee, can initiate for the committee to come up with interpretation and detailed elaboration of a specific provision of the Charter. Already we have general comments. Number 1 is on children of imprisoned mothers, and we have number 2, the right to name and nationality. We also have the Day of the African Child that is celebrated in the whole of Africa. And every year, the committee selects a theme from the many proposals made by various stakeholders and provide guidance on how to celebrate the Day of the African Child. The theme for 2015 is 25 years after the adoption of the African Children's Charter, accelerating our collective efforts to end child marriage in Africa. So how do we engage with the committee? 1, through promoting the universal ratification and reporting campaign on the implementation of the Charter. In 2014, the committee launched the ratification and reporting campaign. And the objective is to have all the state parties ratify the Charter by 2015, when the Charter will be 25 years, and at least submit 1 report. So that's one of the campaigns that this group can engage with, the committee. Also, popularize the Charter by disseminating it in local languages and also having child-friendly versions. At times when we go out to the field, you'll find people who don't even know about the Charter. And usually, people will talk about the Convention on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. I think that's also food for thought. Why would we know more about the Convention on the Rights of the Child and not the African Charter that takes care of the peculiarities of the continent? And also, when we come to reporting, more countries will report to the convention in Geneva, but not to the committee. So those are things that we can think about. We can also, the group, take part in the preparation and submission of alternative reports, complementary reports in our state parties. Also, advising and implementing concluding observations and recommendations of the committee to identify and work on issues at stake in respective countries. When the government presents its report, the committee gives some concluding observations and recommendations to the state party. And it's the work of all the stakeholders to work on those recommendations. We also have bringing child right violations to the attention of the committee through communications. If there are issues that you feel the committee needs to know, you can forward them. We'll give you our address, and then the only thing is that you have to give us your address. It's not anonymous reports. You have to tell us your name, if it's an organization, and your full address. Then we have initiating and support advocacy and investigation missions to assess the situation of children on the ground in countries where children are exposed to risk. We can also propose the committee to come up with principles, interpretations, and explanations of a specific provision of the Charter. Also, they propose a theme for the DAC and promote each annual theme with the view of bringing positive impacts on the rights of children. Okay, what happens is that when the committee sets guidance on what should be done around a particular theme, there are countries that take a whole month, work on that theme on a whole month, others 1 week, and it's more about creating awareness on the theme, on the articles of the Charter. We also have mobilizing technical, human, and financial resources to support the works of the committee in general. And we have proposed the continental study on the situation of children in armed conflict, in particular, which will be carried out in 2015. Also, we have the launching and promoting the African Union campaign to end child marriage. It's more in South and Western Africa, but even as East Africa, we can work on this campaign to end child marriage, because we still know that there are portions where child marriage is taking place. In conclusion, I can say that I had already said this, that 6 of the 7 countries at a review have ratified the Charter, the mechanism with specific provisions on aspects peculiar to Africa. This Charter can be used as the foundation on which the national child protection systems can be built upon. And also, the Charter can also serve as a source of principles from which children's rights protection can be derived according to the context of each country. This can be done through harmonization of laws into a comprehensive Children's Act aligned to the Charter and other international instruments. And I would like to take this opportunity to call upon state parties to the Charter to submit their reports on the implementation of the Charter in due time as per their obligation. And also urge state and non-state actors to work together in the best interest of the child. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious about to know the structures. I mean, the committee is doing a lot of work. I mean, it's trying to organize. Work is being done by the state parties. But how is the structure going? I mean, the communication and enforcing and collecting information from the enforcing organs in the state parties. And because it's important to know how they can collect information, and as well from the leading organization, as well as a shadow from civil societies. At the same time, as you mentioned, many countries are reporting for UN on CRC, but they are not reporting, I mean, for the committee, the African one. So how is it? I'm just thinking if the structure is failing and the means of communication is not as such tight and well linked, it would be very difficult. So how's the committee is doing on this?
All right, thank you very much. I am aware that there's the observer status at the AU. I would need to understand what that means. If you are an observer, what does that mean? What is your role? Number 2, if I am a member of the public, like I am, and I have concerns that need to come, what are the channels that I have to reach the AU and make the complaint, for example? Because like you said, so far there are only 3 communications, you said, and I know there's a lot more that is happening, but what avenues are there for us to be able to reach you and make the formal complaints?
I just wanted to know the penalties that the ACERWC makes on state parties, should they not comply? Maybe not, because like the Nubian case, authority has taken some time. I don't know what penalties are there should the country not accomplish the expected.
I have also a comment.
The presenter had a concern that maybe this meeting would try to address if some members would know the reason. This is a concern that actually all of us would find a solution, or maybe try to know why the reason behind that. Why do some member states of the African Charter on Rights and Welfare of the Child would sometimes prefer, as you put it, to report to Geneva and not to the African Committee? Why are they, what are they trying to avoid? Maybe that is a serious question that we would all of us ask ourselves and get to know the reason behind that. Thank you.
To ensure that these concluding observations are implemented, what is your follow-up mechanism? One way of doing it is publication of the concluding information. For example, in local newspapers, so that it becomes public and everybody knows where the country stands. So can you make a remark on this line?
The theme of the DAC for the following year is selected during the April session. Like during this April session, the 23rd session, the theme for 2015 was selected, and then we'll develop the guidelines. They'll be adopted during the November session and then sent to the state parties. So it would be in order for this group to propose a theme, and then we can know which year to put it in, because already we have a few that are on the pipeline. So that would be in order. Then on the issue of submitting the state party reports and the complementary reports, we have guidelines, and they are also in our website. The guidelines on the way, what you're supposed to do and what is expected of either the state party or the CSO or the CSOs in the country. But for the CSO to submit their report, we must first have the state party report, and then it's forwarded to the CSO, and then they can be able to give their complementary report of the same. On the issue of the concluding observations, you'd find them in our website. They are not confidential. It's not a confidential document. So you can look at it in the website and be able to give your report on this, whether it has been achieved or not. Thank you.
In relation to how information is collected from enforcing bodies of the government, the Secretariat is there to run the daily activities of the committee. So it's through the Secretariat that we collect information from enforcing organizations, from enforcing bodies of the government. We just send note verbals reminding them to submit their reports. So once they submit their report, that's how it's literally from the reports that we get the information. In relation to your question raised on how to access the complainant mechanism, if you have this charter, it has a clear provision on how to make communications under Article 44. It says that the committee may receive communication from any person, group, or non-governmental organization recognized by the Organization of the African Unity by a member state or the United Nations relating to any matter covered by this charter. So it's a right to bring a communication before the court. Before the committee, and you can submit it through the Secretariat. And there is also a guideline on how to submit communication to the committee. You can also access that from the website.
And there's a question that says, what if state parties fails to comply with the concluding observations and recommendations of the committee? Well, as any of the other international bodies operates, the committee doesn't have a binding, cannot make a binding decision. It just operates based on the political will of the state parties. So, because of the probability of not complying with the recommendations of the state party, currently we are applying to get a standing in front of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, because the court has a mandate to give binding decision against state parties. So now we are in the process of getting standing before the court. So from now onwards, once we attain the standing before the court, if a state party fails to comply with recommendations and also decisions of the committee will bring that state before the court. There's also a question on how to ensure concluding observations are implemented in relation to public dissemination. We publish each and every concluding observation on our website, and localizing it or domesticating it, and domesticating that concluding observation will be the responsibility of all stakeholders. The committee cannot publish the concluding observations in each and every country going to the local newspapers, but once if it makes it public through its website, so it's our responsibility. For example, it's the responsibility of AMCAN Ethiopia to localize the concluding observation the committee will issue to the government of Ethiopia. Observer status will be awarded to civil society organizations to attain the committee session, and once a civil society organization has an observer status before the committee, it will have a chance to initiate issues at stake. For example, civil society organizations that have observer status, they can initiate for team of the DAC. They can inform the committee on what is going on in each country. In each country they operate. So the observer status, this is the advantage of having an observer status before the committee, and any interested civil society organization can apply for observer status, and the committee will consider it. There will be some document requirements to be fulfilled. So if there's any civil society organizations to apply for observer status, you are welcomed.
Organizations with observer status are supposed to give reports every 2 years to the committee. Yeah, on what you are doing, and they are supposed to be transparent, rather.
And under child responsibility, we also want sometimes include things like respecting other children's rights, see against violence, respecting teachers, respecting parents, elders. I don't know if that's a true interpretation, because we also want to promote child-to-child healthy relationship without violence, so that children are not also seen, okay, we have a right not to be killed or not to be violated or not to be beaten, but you also have an obligation towards other children, because there's a lot of bullying in schools where children even kill each other. So I don't know whether that is a true reflection of the right and the child responsibility, or is an exaggeration. I just want clarification here.
Thank you very much. It's a true interpretation, because according to Article 31, responsibility of the child, every child shall have responsibilities towards his family and society, the state and other legally recognized communities, and the international community. Yeah, it's a true interpretation. Yeah, because when we talk about the family and the society, it's even one child to another. Thank you.